Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la sharika lahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Amma ba'du, fa'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu kutiba alaikumus siyamu kama kutiba alal ladzina min qablikum la'allakum tattaqun. Sadaqallahul aliyyul azim. And the English translation of this verse of the Holy Quran, which is from chapter 2, verse 183, is, O you who believe, fasting is prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those before you, so that you may guard against evil. And the translation is, of guard against evil, is of the word tattaqun, la'allakum tattaqun. And I want to look at the two words here. First is Siyam, which is translated as fasting. But if you look in Lane's lexicon, he says that what it means is, this is from the triliteral root, fad wa mim, and he says it means he abstained in the absolute sense. This is the primary signification, and he abstained in the language of the law. So, although in the context it is translated as fasting, what it means is abstaining from something, and even abstaining as far as law is concerned. The law asks you not to do something. And the thing about Ramadan is that during Ramadan, we abstain from lawful things, such as eating and drinking and so on. And these days, we are having to abstain from lawful activity as well. We can't go out. We must stay at home as much as possible. When we go out, we must stay a certain distance from other people. All these are lawful activities, but we have to abstain from them. And the government tells us the reason that they're asking us to do that is so that our health is not impacted. And this takes us to the second word, the taqun. And the triliteral root of this verb is wa, qaf, ya. And its translation, according again to our old friend Lane, is he preserved, he guarded, he preserved or guarded himself exceedingly, extraordinarily from sin or harm, of commission or of omission, or from what would harm him in this world or the world to come. It may often be rendered he was pious or careful of his religious duties. But this is a narrow meaning, that so and so is pious and careful of his religious duties. Can you see the similarity between what Boris Johnson asked us to do during coronavirus and what Allah in the Holy Quran asked us to do 1500 years ago? Let me rephrase this verse of the Holy Quran in terms of what Boris Johnson said. That I'm prescribing for you that you abstain from doing those things that you're allowed to. And why? To protect your national health service or to protect your health. And people say, well, as Lane says, Tatakun may be rendered as he was pious or careful of his religious duties, etc. But I think if you look at things like Wattakullah, it means you live in accordance with God's law. Can you see the similarities between what the Quran is asking us to do and what is happening around us? Repeatedly, the Prime Minister and different ministers and so on, they come and they make speeches and they say, protect your National Health Service, stay in, don't go out, abstain and refrain from what otherwise would be lawful activities. And this is a training that Muslim is asked to undertake and undergo every year, every month, to do that. At the beginning, the very beginning, in chapter 2, the Holy Quran says, what is the Holy Quran? It is guidance, it's a roadmap. Roadmap for what? Roadmap about how you're going to follow Allah's law. And it's very strange that there's a complete parallel these days between what God said 1500 years ago and what the British government and the French government and the German government and everyone else is saying. And that is that there is a time when, for your own protection, for the protection of your community, you have to give up things that you would normally do. Complete parallel. But the Holy Quran says, and as Lane points out, that as far as the Holy Quran is concerned, it applies to two things: harm in this world and harm in the next world. And people are confused by this and they don't understand, what about the next world? How can it harm the next world? What we do here, how can it harm us in the next world? What they fail to appreciate is that the life continues. Life doesn't end with death. It simply a change in state. As I've said 2 or 3 times over the last week, God says, created man from dust. How different is that? Dust became sperm. Sperm became fetus. Fetus became a baby. The baby is born. At every stage of this development, life is different. At every stage, life is different. What we call death is exactly the same. It's simply changing from one stage of life to the next stage of life. Now let's go back. Why is it that mothers stop smoking and drinking when they become pregnant? Because it harms the fetus. So what they're saying is what we do in this life will harm the next stage of life for the unborn life. Our body is exactly the same. Our body is like a mother's womb. Just like if the mother takes heroin, the child is born addicted to heroin and has to suffer pain. Why? Because as soon as the child is born, the child wants heroin. And the doctors are not going to let him have heroin. So the child has to go through that pain. Our body is like that womb. If we do wrong things in this life, our soul, when it transfers to the next stage of life, will have to go through the same pain as that child had to go through the withdrawal symptoms. It's no different. And the Holy Quran tells us, as Lane says, that tattaqun, there is a law that God has set down. What does that law do? It teaches you to do things that will make sure that when you move to the next stage of life, you don't suffer. There are many examples of this. You go to school. In the days of old, it used to be quite common, not going to school, but doing 12 plus or 11 plus. If you work hard, maybe put in extra hours, do private tuition and so on, practice 11 plus papers. When it comes to doing the exam, you will get through. You'll go to what's called a grammar school. There are still a few around in some places. If you go to grammar school, you get better teaching, you get better teachers, and so on. And it may be that you get better grades and a better job. So that hard work that you did at the age of 8 or 9 pays off when you are 18, 19, 21, 22. You can't say, well, I'm 8, what does it matter? It's like people saying, oh, why are you worrying about your pension that's 40 years away or 50 years away? Take any example in this life. If you don't provide for your pension when you're 18 or 20 years old, you're not going to end up with a full pension. And what's going to happen when you transfer to that stage of life? You will have to suffer. because you won't have enough money to pay gas and electricity and buy food and so on. You see so many old people, and you go to their houses in winter, and they're wrapped up warm with blankets and hot water bottles. Why? Because their pension isn't enough. That suffering is there. And it's the same thing when you move on to the next stage. When this body, that is the womb for the soul, dies and gives birth to the soul. If you haven't been saving up all these years, then that soul has no pension to fall back on. But interestingly, there's such a parallel which has become obvious in this day and age. People always laughed at Ramadan and said, no, why do you give up food and water? Now I ask them, why have you given up going out? That's lawful. What harm does it do? Why have you, when you go shopping, why do you leave 2 meters between yourself and the next shopper? If you don't do it, Tesco's and Asda and other shops, they have lines marked on the ground. Stay behind that line. Human beings' tragedy is that they cannot see what is going to happen tomorrow, and they cannot plan for tomorrow. They want not only butter today, but they want butter and jam and everything else today. And life doesn't work like that. If you want everything today, you might end up with some things today, but at the end, you will end up with nothing at all. Governments throughout the world, to protect people's physical health, have done exactly what the Quran says do, not only to preserve your physical health, but also to preserve your spiritual and moral health. But we need to look at the teaching of the Holy Quran in a broader sense and apply to the situation as we find it. People who wrote translations and commentaries and so on 100 years ago or 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, they were great scholars, but they were human. They were writing those things in the light of their situation and circumstances and their knowledge. The world has moved on. Why is the Quran a book for all time? Because every time the situation and circumstances change, you have to revisit its message. And I've taken one verse of the Holy Quran as an example to show you what the governments of this world are doing now to preserve our physical health is exactly what the Holy Quran said we have to do to preserve our spiritual health and to plan for the next stage of our life. As the example I gave, that the mother who gives up smoking and drinking because she's pregnant, she's planning for the next stage of that life. Our physical body, as I said, is a womb, and it needs to plan for the next stage of the life. Otherwise, if we don't, what will happen? It's like the old man. He didn't plan his pension. He wanted his holidays in wherever it was. So when he retires, he doesn't have enough money to pay the electricity bill or gas bill, and he has to wrap himself up. And he has to, do you think he doesn't go through pain and torment when he does that? So why should it be any different for us when when our bodies die and our souls move on to the next stage? We haven't saved up anything for the next stage. So we have nothing to fall back on. Just like the old man has to wrap himself up against the cold and use hot water bottles rather than turn the central heating on, our soul will have to do exactly the same thing. The strange thing is that no one can see. If you hadn't been told, then you could say, oh, I didn't know. No one told me. But the Holy Quran tells you over and over again. Some people say, why is it so repetitive? It's repetitive because people don't listen. It doesn't matter how many times you tell people. They will not listen. So, this is the month of Ramadan. And as our Jamaat said, don't cry about the quarantine. Make it into Quran time. You have more time now. Spend it trying to understand the message of the Holy Quran and then trying to take it to others and implementing it in your own lives. This is the only way to success, whether it's in this life or in the hereafter. بارك الله لنا ولكم في القرآن العظيم ونفعنا وإياكم بالآيات وذكر الحكيم إنه تعالى جواد كريم ملك بالرؤوف رحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم انصر من نصر دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم واجعلنا واقتل من خذل دين محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ولا تجعلنا عباد الله رحمكم الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Straight rows.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya al-salah, hayya al-falah, iqamat as-salah, iqamat as-salah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين والتين والزيتون وطور سينين وهذا البلد الأمين لقد خلقنا الإنسان في أحسن تقويم ثم رددناه أسفل سافلين إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات فلهم أجر غير ممنون وما يكذبك بعد بالدين إليس الله بأحكم الحاكمين الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد الله أكبر سمع الله لمن حمده الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر السلام عليكم ورحمة الله السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Thank you for joining us for our Friday service. Our next broadcast is at 7 p.m. UK time, when we have what are called reflections of the Holy Quran. And then after that, it's for half an hour, first 15 minutes in Urdu and the last 15 minutes in English. English is particularly useful for our new brothers from Dominican Republic and United States and so on. And then, of course, at 10 p.m. UK time, we will have the 8 rakah of Tarawih prayer. I say wa alaikum salam to the brothers and sisters who joined us from Trinidad, from Fireburn, and Aruka Islamic Association in Trinidad. Wa alaikum assalam, and thank you for your messages. Until we meet again this afternoon, assalamu alaikum, khuda hafiz, and goodbye.